going to give you the review from chapter 6 to chapter 12 on A Brief History of Time. Wonderful book. Any one of you who has not read it, strongly recommended to read. This is perhaps one of the finest books we can have on science fiction. So let's start. Let me grab my cheat sheets. The chapter 6 is linked with black holes, as Sir Stephen Hawking in his book, he has explained the origins of wonderful phenomena which we know thanks to his research in this topic, that black holes, they are reality. I mean, they are just like we have four fundamental forces of nature which we harness most of the time: electromagnetism, and we use electricity to do different works in our world. People make money, and so are the companies, so are the black holes. And basically, as the name explains, black hole is something where everything just goes black and nothing can come back. Black itself is the absence of light. So but specifically in this book, Sir Stephen Hawking explains that black holes, they are linked with stars. Everything we know in the universe age. I mean, human beings, car, houses, material, whatever we have, they all age with time. So is the star. Any star, such as in our solar system we have sun. Everyone knows it. So it's aging. So any star which age and also it uses its fuel of hydrogen, and to burn it, and the byproduct of its activity, fusion reaction, is the heat and the radiations which we receive on Earth every day. So any star, when it uses up all of its fuel, it's a time of the death of that star. So that is also the time where black hole forms, which is just when a big star dies, turns into a white dwarf, and everything starts collapsing. So, but in this specific book, Sir Stephen Hawking starts with wave particle theory, like the wave have dual nature, particle nature and wave nature, and that is the basics of understanding of black hole, because light is the basis where we can study the age of the universe. There is some radiation still coming towards our Earth since the time of the Big Bang. But specifically speaking, black hole is linked with the death of any star. So we live in Milky Way with so many billions of stars in our galaxy. So each and every star is using its fuel. In this book, Sir Stephen Hawking specifically mentioned about how that process happens. So once a star is used up all of its fuel, what will happen, that Pauli expulsion principle, along with the internal gravity of the star, determines the radius of the star. So if the star is 1.5 times larger than our sun, then that star cannot maintain its normal radius after it collapses. So let me first explain how a star normally maintains its normal radius after it collapses. So what happens when a star uses up all of its fuel, the particles they try to contract. So when they try to contract according to Pauli expulsion principle, each and every particle they have different velocities. So what happens is, because of the varying velocities of particles in the star, the size starts to increase, and the star sits in a final orbit based on its size and energy. So the gravitation pull within the star cancels out the attractive and repulsion forces as a result of Pauli expulsion principle. So one of the Indian scientist, Sir Stephen Hawking mentioned, his name was Subramanian, who invented this limit that any star which has a 1.5 times radius bigger than the size of the sun, that will collapse after the fuel will exhaust. And fascinately, Sir Stephen Hawking explains in such a nice way, in such a simple way, that everyone is so clear. Like if you read this book, you will understand that what happens when a star dies. I mean, what happens, how our Earth came into existence, how our sun came into existence, because a death of a star is birth of a black hole, which is a cycle of birth of another star by when all the stars in a galaxy have been sucked by the black hole, and the phenomena keeps on continuing. So in this particular book, in this chapter 6, Sir Stephen Hawking explains the concept of black hole. Chapter 7 speaks on black holes are not so black. So as you know by the name that they are not so black, means that black hole also it's a physical entity, and black hole also have their age, their life, and their sizes. According to the book, there are tiny black holes, and then there are big black holes. So what happens in chapter 7? So Stephen Hawking explains with a very fascinating concept of event horizon. He gives an example in a book that if you are in a spaceship and you are just revolving around black hole, what's going to happen if one of your crew member enters into a black hole just to have a reading of the radiations being emitted by the black hole, which he later explains in his book. So he explains this with more clarity by a graph. So he just have the parameters of singularity, the boundary of the event horizon, and the time. So because one of the quality I found in Sir Stephen Hawking is his ability to make complex things simple in a clear way. So it's a basic concept that black holes, they suck everything, while it's not true. They also emit radiations, and there are some radiations which are reaching our planet with time. And that's in chapter 7. He continue to explain. Sorry, excuse me.